Hello, here's a charcoal sketch of a cat sitting in a box. I kind of like its expression, I like its thinking. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I like it and I hope nobody will bother me. It's a simpler, smaller sketch this time, but it was fun. Now let's have a look at the drawing process. So I'm going to do my sketch on this paper, which is about 5 times 8 inches in size, and I can crop it a little bit later in case I need to, but I'm going to start with the cat's ears. I'm going to do most of my drawing with a charcoal pencil, but I'm going to do the sketch with a graphite pencil, as usual. So first the cat, starting with the ears and the head, and then later I'm going to draw the box. This is going to be the cat's body. And the box will be here. These are going to be the sides of the box. Like I said, it's going to be a simpler sketch this time. Nothing horribly complex. But it will still need a little bit of shading to make the box look a little more 3D and to make the cat and its fur look realistic. So initially I moved the box a little bit more to the left, even though the cat is more or less placed in the center. But I moved the box a little bit more to the left because I wanted the shadow to be on the right. I wanted the shadow to be visible a little bit, but I'm probably going to be modifying that even more a little bit later. So here are the eyes. I have a reference photo of a cat that I'm looking at, but since this is not a detailed portrait or anything, I don't really have to worry too much about likeness, so as long as I can get it to look like a cat, it's gonna be fine. The nose and the mouth. The whiskers are gonna be there. I'm just adjusting the positioning of the eyes a little bit. Now I'm going to use this pointed stick to make indentations where the whiskers will be. I'm just going to carve in these lines into the paper so that when I go over them with a charcoal pencil they remain white. It's easier that way. And a few over here. So now I'm starting with a charcoal pencil, and I sharpen my charcoal pencil pretty well because I'm going to be drawing short fur. As I draw, I'm going to try to imitate the texture and the appearance of the fur as much as possible, even though, like I said, it's a somewhat smaller sketch and I'm going to be blending a lot of it anyway, so it's not a big deal. The eyes, there is a shadow in the upper part of the eye, as you can see, because the light is coming from above. I'm still fidgeting with the shape of the box a little bit. So these are some of the stripes on the head, and the that's the nose. As you can see, I'm using my usual approach of going with darkest areas. I like to lay down some of these darkest areas first, and then I find it easier to proceed from there, draw the midtones and later draw the highlights. Even though normally when I draw highlights I like to leave the white space, but sometimes I just erase them. Now you can see that I'm shading the sides of the box because they are on the inside, so they're going to be a little bit darker, and you can see that I've tried to make the outline of the cat resemble the fur by using these short strokes that look like hair. Since I don't need any texture here, I want to avoid texture and I want this area to be lighter. I'm just using my Tortillion to draw to cover some of these parts of the box. I want this a little bit smoother, and occasionally I'm just cleaning up the edges, although they don't need to be too sharp. You can see that I shaded the corner of that box a little bit darker because that's where there is less light. And I'm moving on to the other side of the box. There will be a little bit of shadow here from the cat because I want my light source to be coming more from the left side. So that's the lid of the box, the upper part of it, and now I need to work a little bit more on the inside and on the main part of the box. I'm just going to put a light shadow there, and this area here under the lid needs to be a little bit darker. I'm blending that with a Tortillion. If I find that there's a little bit too much texture, I'm just going to keep blending and blending until I get it to look softer. Another trick when blending is to use a little bit of white charcoal to make it blend a little bit softer, and also you can add a little bit of fine charcoal on top, and that helps you kind of create smoother areas. But it's fine as it is. Like I said, it's going to be a smaller, simpler sketch. Occasionally, if I feel that I need to work a little bit more on these edges, I can use a sharp black colored pencil for more precision. Now you can see that I'm adding a little bit of shadow on the right. This shadow is casted by the body of the cat. And there is a little bit of shadow here at the bottom of the box. So now I'm using a pencil eraser to clean up some of these edges and to make some of these parts stand out a little bit. So that it looks like a real box as much as possible. As you can see on my channel, I will occasionally do a few of these larger, more complex drawings, and I will sometimes do a smaller, simpler sketch. The next small sketch that I'm going to do is probably going to be another insect, but we'll see. I also plan to do a little bit more landscape because a lot of people seem to like that. So that's the other eye. You can see that both eyes have a highlight. So I had to be careful to leave that white space there, not to cover it with charcoal. And I'm gonna have to make sure that these whiskers stand out as well. Right now the cat looks a little bit chubby, but I'm going to be modifying the shape of its head a little bit when it's all done and shaded properly. So you can see that I'm blending a lot of that charcoal, and that I'm creating that mid-tone, but I'm gonna need to go back in with an eraser and add some of these lighter areas and highlights and work on the appearance of the fur a little bit more. As always, when drawing fur, I try to make the length of my strokes match the length of the fur, and the same goes for the direction as well. The same rule applies whether you're drawing a smaller sketch or a larger, more detailed drawing. Even though if this sketch was really, really small, then I would have to find other ways to imitate the appearance of the fur. You can also see that I drew some of the stripes on the body, and then I'm now refining the shape of the head, which is now looking a lot better than it initially was, but it still needs a lot of work. I want these stripes on the forehead to stand out. And like I said, I wanted to capture this surprised look on the cat's face, like it's thinking, I'm probably not supposed to be in this box. But cats do like boxes. So now I'm moving on to the area around the neck where we have longer fur. Just fixing the head a little bit more. So here we have longer fur, so I'm using a little bit longer strokes. And I'm going to be blending that as well. There will be a phase in which this will look a little bit too dark, but then I will draw some more highlights with an eraser and hopefully improve the appearance by creating the illusion of volume and shape. So right now I'm going over it with a brush and blending, and it's probably looking a little bit too dark, so that's okay. I'm going to be drawing some highlights in a minute. But my goal here is also to make this right side of the cat a little bit darker, and to make the lower part of that box a little bit darker, so that we have an illusion of depth there. The cat is starting to look good, but like I said, more work with a pencil eraser is needed. Now you see that I'm working a little bit on these hairs, these lighter hairs around the ears and the whiskers. I'm cleaning those up a little bit as well to make the face a little more realistic. So now I'm starting to work on the body, and there's a lighter area here on under the neck and around the chest, so I'm going to focus on that now, make that a little bit lighter using a pencil eraser. But when drawing white hairs or highlights on a fur, it's important to keep your pencil eraser sharp, whichever it is that you're using. It's easier with a Tombow Mono Zero eraser if you have one, but I'm using a Kohinoor pencil eraser, which is fine. When it's sharp, it gets the job done, even though the tip is not quite as fine. So I'm cleaning up these whiskers just a little bit more, and I'm going to use a kneaded eraser here to dab some of these areas to make them just a little bit lighter, but it's not going to ruin my texture. So just putting down some of the finishing touches on the shape of the head so that my cat wouldn't look weird, although it does have a little bit of a weird expression on its face. And I want it to look like it's sitting in the box, leaning on its left hip. Leaning on the right side of the box. I can also crop my drawing a little bit like this, because the composition is just a little bit off, so I can crop it a little bit to make it closer to the center. So I'm going to do that. Here the drawing is cropped, and I removed the tape and I sprayed it with a little bit of fixative. And there's the signature. So here's the finished drawing. I hope you enjoyed this little sketch of a cat in a box. More drawings are on the way. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.